So the next thing I want to talk to you about today is what's called potting up. Potting up is when we have seeds that we've started, and I've gone ahead and used my razor knife. I love razor knives, by the way, because you don't have to know how to sharpen a knife. If you have a good supply of razor blades, your knife will always be sharp. And for certain things like this, they're really the best option anyway. So I've gone ahead and I've cut out this one section, and I picked this one to start with because I'm going to do a little bit of plant surgery here. These are all California Wonder Peppers that I started from seed that I saved last year, and I put 2 in each pot, and I got about a 50% germination rate. Well, this guy here gave me a bonus. He gave me an extra one. This one did too, but a little label out of the way. But you can see he's kind of seed capped. I'm not even going to worry about that one. I'm going to try to save this one though, and I'm going to show you how to do that. A lot of times when you hear people talk about planting peppers or tomatoes, they'll talk about just throwing a bunch of seeds and doing what's called pricking them out. If you want to prick them out, you really want to start when they're even younger than this one. You see this plant right here has its first true leaves already. This plant, his true leaves aren't even all the way out yet, but he's still big enough to where these roots might be a little bit intertangled. So I'm going to show you what you do to separate 2 plants once they're in a pot together, and then I'll show you how to do what's called potting up. To separate them, the best thing you can do is get a razor knife and just cut the pot and open it up like this. And these might they just pulled apart naturally. I don't even really need to do this, but I'm going to do it just to be safe. If you run a razor knife between the 2 and you actually cut the roots, then what happens is, and this is not going to be as clean as the rest of them will be, but it is the hard one, so I'm going to show you that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill my pot that I'm going to be potting up to most of the way, not all the way. I'm going to take out the plant that I'm going to be potting up. And again, I'm actually risking losing these plants to try to save one, but I thought it'd be an interesting thing to show you. And make a little hole. Remember, I don't want to fill this plant all the way. Just like in my last video, if you get a little bit of hyper growth, it's nice to be able to add some dirt to your pot. So let me get this guy taken care of. And once I do, I'll explain to you why I'm doing this in the first place, and what the reasoning behind it is, and why I'm not just putting these things right into the garden, which I honestly could do, but I have my reasons, folks. You'll just have to trust me. So I'm going to get that nice and started, packed down, and as you can see, I've left at least a ½ inch to work with in depth. So if this plant starts to go kind of a hyper growth curve and it needs a little bit of reinforcement before I'm ready to put it in the ground, I'll be able to build that dirt up. Now the reason I'm doing this, let me cut another one of these off so I can show you something for comparison. And if I were putting these in the ground, I would just plant that straight into the ground. But the reason we're potting them up is look how much more volume of root area this plant is now capable of putting on before it goes into the ground. It is, you know, these plants, since they have their first true leaves, at least most of them do, they are capable of going into the ground. It's beautiful out today. It's about 65 degrees right now and sunny. I'm going to water these. I'm going to keep them in a Sterilite bin. I'm going to keep them in some with a little bit of shade and start hardening them off right away. But I'm not going to put them in the ground. And why not? It's March 22nd. It's still possible, even here in Texas, that we could have another hard freeze. It snowed on Saturday. Today is Monday. I'm not convinced that that was our last one. So, with them all in little pots like this, if they're about that high in a week or two, and we get a snap freeze before I'm confident enough to put them in the ground, all I have to do is go out and grab all my little trays with my plants in it and bring them in the house. Since I don't have a greenhouse this year and won't be building a new one until we move. So there you go. That's potting up. When you hear that terminology, that's what that's all about. There's how to do it. Now, if you're potting up from something like this, and it only has one, would I remove the peat? I actually probably would, moving into a pot this size. This is not going to break down very well inside another pot, especially over the short term. So what I would do, and I'll go ahead and get this one ready so that I can do it, is I would just simply cut into the sidewall, and I would simply peel it open, being as gentle as I possibly can. And I don't even want to take that out of there because I'll be able to get it in intact into the next one. I'll lay that into my hand, drop that into the pot that's about halfway filled, backfill around it. I'll be doing that and getting the rest of these done. But there you go. That's potting up. That's what you do to get your pepper plants, your tomato plants, and your other kind of tender plants off to an early start when you're not quite ready to put them in the ground. This has been Jack Spirko with another Survival Podcast video.